Okay, it's Mike with Mallory Fabrications, back again in the shop. So I had filmed on this cabinet the way I got it, and for whatever reason, when I went to edit the video, the SD card was corrupted. So now I obviously can't go back and reshoot repairs I did, but I can show you what I had to repair on this. The background on this is over behind the camera, I have two plastic cabinets. I think they're about 25 inches wide by 5 foot tall by 16 inches deep. And the problem with those is you might get a year's use out of them, and then the plastic shelves break and the doors don't want to close because the whole top's caving in. So that's what I'm having over there. And they're kind of this whitish gray color that just doesn't go with my shop. So I'm replacing those with this. So the background on this is I have been looking for one because the price of these are outrageous. They're about $400, anywhere from like $2.99 to $3.99 a piece, and I just didn't feel like spending that kind of money on a cabinet. So I've been looking around on Facebook Marketplace, stuff like that. Every time I found one that was affordable, they didn't have the shelves for it, or something else was wrong, or it was just rusted through. So I went to the what we call around here the Restore, the Habitat for Humanity store that resells stuff that they get. And I saw this, and it had some damage, but I was able to fix it. I bought it for like $75, which still was a little high to me with the damage that I had, but hey, I don't do their pricing. So I'll give you a little recap of what I did. When I got it, this locking mechanism was completely messed up. It just wasn't working at all. And the reason for that is there was two screws on the back here that held this handle in place, and they had stripped out. I'm assuming they kept loosening, and then they would tighten them again and loosen, tighten. Apparently they didn't know that Loctite existed. And then when the screws stripped completely out and they wouldn't go back in, they continued to use it, and it bent the locking bars to go down. So I had to take all that out, straighten back out the bars, and I drilled through and just put me some bolts and nuts here to hold it together, because the shop has an alarm on it and it's always locked. I'm not really worried about people breaking into this stuff. All my toolboxes are unlocked all the time. So I had to fix that. And the next one was this shelf. You'll notice that it looks pretty straight now, but when I got it, it looked like somebody had put it on a rock and used it as a seesaw thing. It's literally like a U. So with some massaging of a big rubber mallet on a table, I've got this back straight, and it locks in correctly now. So the overall condition of the paint on the outside of it was not good. It was all black. A lot of my stuff in the shop is black and red. So what I did was I taped off this black. This is still sanded. I haven't sprayed the black yet. So this is sanded and ready. I just got to wipe it down again. But I went ahead and masked everything off, and I painted the red. This red is, I kind of hoard up automotive paint when I have extra. So this red was in one of those plastic cabinets over there. And I had just enough to paint this door. It's a cheap one-stage automotive red, which if you're a painter and you go to buy red, you know that the most expensive color you could really buy, unless you go to those chameleon things. But so we use that. So that was the video before, doing all of that got corrupted. I don't know how that got corrupted, but I had to reformat the whole card and everything to get it back. So, and I'm not using the same card this time. I don't trust that card. So it'll be used for something else, maybe one of my 3D printers or something. So now what we're going to do is we're going to spray the black. And my father owns a towing service, and he has a contract with Ryder to fix their trucks. And when they get new trucks, they send those trucks to him. He cleans them up, and he paints the frame with this certain type of one-stage paint that's supposed to be pretty resistant to, everything, I guess. I'm not really familiar with it. And he gave it to me in this unmarked canister. So I don't even know what brand it is. But I do know that the stuff looks good when it's sprayed. So again, yeah, I'm always on the budget. You'll always hear me say that. So I've got that over there, got some medium reducer. Again, it's one stage. I don't particularly care for one stage. I like to paint the base clear. But again, on a budget. So I got the free paint. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to paint this next. We're going to paint the black in. We'll let that cure. And then I will start taking the stuff from those plastic cabinets over there and putting in this and getting rid of those. And one other thing I did is, you can't really see the way the camera's angled, but I put steel reinforcements in the bottom of this cabinet. And I bolted on casters. So casters with locks. So that if I ever need to move it around, which has been pretty handy with the working on it and the painting, but if I ever need to move it from this spot, which is where it's going to stay, I could just unlock the casters and move it out, because there is some electrical lines behind here for my ovens over here that I do my gun coatings and stuff in. So if I ever have a problem, I can just move it out. So what we're going to do is we're now going to mask off this red, because we don't want to get any black on the red. And I'll get back to you when we get that mask off, because nobody wants to sit around and watch me mask doors off. Okay, so our cabinet is sitting outside, and it is masked up. And I went ahead and I've already degreased it, sanded it, degreased it, and then I painted the red. But as any painter will tell you, the job turns out as good as you do the prep. So I went ahead and degreased it again, wiped it down. So this is just a Harbor Freight gun, and this is the Harbor Freight Spectrum, I think it is, line to paint stuff. 3M has the same thing, but it's like outrageously expensive. This stuff you can get for pretty cheap. So here's it just consists of a liner, this shell, a ring, top, and then it goes on this special fitting. So this paint, this is the stuff that was given to me by my father. And like I said, I have no idea what brand this is, and it just comes to me in this like macaroni and cheese container. I don't know what it originally was. I don't know. But what I do know is that he did tell me that this is a 4-to-1 mix ratio. meaning that there's 4 parts paint, 1 part reducer. Sorry about that. So we're not after a showroom quality job here. So I'm just going to eyeball it. I need a rag. We'll stir this paint up. We're going to pour in what I think is going to be 4 parts. And then we'll use the reducer over here to do the rest. And we'll start it up, put it on the gun, and we'll be ready to paint. For those of you that don't know much about painting, this is a 1-stage paint, which essentially means that this paint is kind of like a spray can paint. It is your base and your clear all in one. So when you spray this, that's it. You just spray it on there, and then you kind of get ready to pour that there. You kind of just let that dry, and it should come up looking glossy, just like a base clear system. I'm going to call that here. So a base clear system is where you would spray a base coat and let that dry off. Normally you would spray several base coats, and then you would go back and spray a top coat, a clear coat on it, and then you would let that cure, and that would be your base clear system. So this is a 1-stage. 1-stage, single stage. They got 15,000 different names for this stuff. But we're going to get this. I'm going to start this up and get it on the gun and get my regulator stuff hooked up, and then we will get back with you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, we've got our setup here, and get the air hose. Helpful if I take that hand off. Alright, so I'm going to leave the camera running for the first coat, and then we're just going to jump to unmasking it and stuff at the end, because I don't think anybody wants to sit there and watch me just spray paint. Let's go dial in our gun and get this thing sprayed. And of course, we need more air. That is barely in the air. This is a HVLP gun, so it still needs more air. Start fanning our output a little bit. Probably should have done this before we started spraying the paint. On these projects here, I like to have my paint turned down. That way I'm right up on my project, and I can see if something's messing up. The only problem with that is, if you're not getting enough air, you get this kind of exactly what you're paying. Which right now, yeah, I'm definitely getting that. Let's baby back. Put a little bit more product flowing. There we go. That looks much better. So on your first coat, it's kind of like spray paint. You're not really looking for full coverage at this point. I mean, if your paint is thick enough and it does do full coverage on your first shot, that's great. But you're not really looking for full coverage on the first layer here. You're only looking for enough to get started. That way your second and third coats have something to adhere to, because you're going to be waiting about 15 to 20 minutes between these coats, and that gives it time enough for this to tack up. And then your subsequent coats will stick really good to that tacked up coat. So if you see, there was just a couple spots right there that didn't get covered there, but that's okay, because that's not what we're going for right now. And we're only painting the two sides of the front, because unless you got a friend that's 7 foot tall, they're never going to be able to tell that you didn't waste money and paint that top. And this back looks fine anyway. So I'm not going to paint it because you're not going to see it. So there we go. We got our first coat done. It looks like, yeah, I'm going to be able to get about 3 coats out of this. A little bit that I've mixed up. But we'll see you again when I'm finished. And I will take the camera out there and let you see. All right, so here we are now. I've got it sprayed. I was spraying this outside. So the only problem with that is I was spraying black. And black out in the sunlight, it gets just absolutely burning hot. And you can't do that. It'll bubble the paint. So as soon as I got done spraying it, which, by the way, it was 3 coats, I brought it in. And I had a couple spots. We'll take the camera here and look at some stuff. I had a couple spots where I don't know how, but there was a spot here, there was a spot here, and there was a spot there that the black got through all my masking and got onto the red. So here's our finished product. And I mean, as you can see, it's not perfectly smooth. Again, the paint that I got from him, he described it as cheap frame paint. I don't know what that means, because I have never painted a frame. I've always set those off to get those powder coated. So I'll tell you on that. If anybody knows what that paint is, leave it down in the comments or something. I mean, it's not bad paint. It didn't turn out bad at all. So yeah, if you know what that is, leave it down in the comments for me. there's probably some other applications I could use that paint for, especially if it's as cheap as he says it is. So another problem was, getting this back inside because of the heat outside. It's a good thing I did not paint the back of it, because I had to kind of do, this thing, grabbing a hold of the back and the area here that was masked off to get it back inside the shop. So I did not paint the top either. Unless you got a 7-foot friend, I don't think anybody's going to notice that you didn't paint that top. Again, even free paint, it's still a budget. I may need that paint for something else. Matter of fact, I know I do. There's another project coming up that paint's going to go on. So yeah, so this I'm going to let set cure. I'm going to let it cure pretty much. Well, it's 11:20 a.m. So I'm just going to let this cure until the morning. And then I'm going to come back and recheck everything, make sure my paint's cured and everything, and then I will start moving stuff from the plastic lockers to this locker, and then move it back into its home. So I guess this is the end for this build. I fixed everything, and now we've painted it. The only thing I'm going to do now is I have a vinyl plotter to where I can cut my own decals, and I will probably decal this with something on it. I'm not sure what yet. Haven't really looked into that. So for the most part, this is finished and it's functional. It just, the paint has to cure, load it up, put it in its home, and I'll think of something to decal it with and make it go with the rest of the shop. So if you need one of these in your shop and you're on budget like I always am, it's the stuff in the house that gets the money. The shop budget always suffers. So, go around and look at some of those restores. I don't know what they would call them in some areas, but here it's Habitat for Humanity restores. And they sell these for, decently cheap. You might have to fix a lock or something, but overall you're gonna get a $300, $400 cabinet for $75 and a little bit of time with some paint, and it looks brand new. So just food for thought there. If you need some stuff, go look at your local restore. You'd be surprised what they have that you could recondition for shop equipment. And that'll do it for this build. I will later on, after I decal it and stuff, put some pictures in of it decaled up and looking the way I want it to look. But for now, that's it. We'll see you in the next one.